You know that feeling. You walk away from a convo with a girl and your brain goes, wow, was that flirting? Or am I just dreaming again? Picture this. You're sitting across from her at a coffee shop. You pull out every move you've studied, the callbacks, the playful teasing, the push-pull. You try to be funny. She smiles, once, politely, then her eyes drop back to her phone. She texts back when you text first. Short replies. No energy behind them. Classic dry texting from someone who's already mentally checked out. And your brain immediately goes to the script. What should I have said? What line did I miss? But the script wasn't the problem. She decided your rank the moment your shadow hit the floor, long before you even cleared your throat. Not because your personality failed, because your physical presence didn't send the right signal. Here is the biological filter most men never see. You can have the sharpest wit and the most dialed-in conversation skills, but if her visual, subconscious filter reads your body as low interest, she's already halfway gone before the first sentence leaves your mouth. She's not ignoring your words. She's ignoring your lack of biological discipline. And it starts with a ritual most guys completely overlook before they even take a bite. I've been that man. Sitting with my phone, watching a conversation go cold in real time, obsessing over the perfect reply while completely neglecting the very body that was supposed to carry those words. We do this because we're wired to solve problems with logic. Conversation fails? Find better logic. Learn a new technique. Watch another breakdown video. Study another framework. But attraction isn't logical. It's pre-logical. Her brain isn't running a conscious evaluation when she first sees you. It's running a filter, fast, automatic, and completely below her awareness. Researchers call it the visual subconscious filter. It fires before she processes your humor, your status, your stories, any of it. Think of it this way. You're trying to run high-end software on broken hardware. Doesn't matter how polished your psychology game is. If your physical presence is already signaling low interest to her primitive brain, the software never even loads. Your game isn't getting ignored because it's bad. It's getting ignored because the signal arrived first. And that signal said the wrong thing. Most guys spend months sharpening their conversation skills and 0 days understanding what their body is already communicating the moment they walk into a room. That's not a psychology problem. That's a hardware problem. So if you want her to actually hear your personality, you have to fix the signal you're sending 24/7 first. And the first habit that changes how she perceives your presence isn't what most men expect. The first habit starts with water before food. The plate lands. Most guys lean in, fork ready, pulse spiking. They look hungry, not just for the steak, but for the dopamine. It's a small thing. She probably couldn't even explain why it registers. But it does. When you drink water first, before the food, before the small talk picks back up, before anything, you look different. Not dramatically different, just settled, like a man who isn't being pulled around by his immediate urges. That's pulse control, and she's reading it without knowing she's reading it. The guy who goes straight for the food signals one thing. He responds to impulse. The man who pauses, reaches for the water, takes his time, he signals something else entirely. Steady energy, low reactivity, a body that he's clearly in charge of. When you drink water first, you aren't just hydrating. You're signaling to her that you aren't a slave to your immediate urges. Girls notice that steady energy more than you think. One habit, 0 performance, pure signal. But stillness at the table only goes so far, because what she picks up on when you're moving through the world is a completely different layer of the story. The second shift is embracing ambient motion. You're waiting at the bar with her, or you're on a call, pacing slowly near the window while she watches. You're not working out. You're just in motion. There's a term for this kind of low-grade, constant physical activity, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, or NEAT. It's everything your body does that isn't structured exercise. Walking, standing, shifting, gesturing, and over time, it's one of the most reliable separators between a man who looks lean and one who doesn't. But here's the psychological layer most guys miss entirely. A man with ambient motion reads as high dominance vitality to her subconscious. He doesn't look restless or nervous. He looks alive. There's a baseline energy behind his presence that a sedentary man simply cannot fake, no matter how good his conversation is. The guy who sits slumped, scrolling, barely moving, he reads as low energy before he opens his mouth. The man who carries himself with that quiet, constant aliveness, she feels it. She can't explain it. She just knows she wants to stay near it. But movement without precision is just burning calories in the dark. If you don't know your numbers, you're guessing. And guessing is a weak man's game. Then comes the need for digital precision. Most guys operate on vibes when it comes to their body. I think I ate okay today. I probably didn't overdo it. I've been pretty active this week. That's not a strategy. It's a prayer. Cognitive calibration is what separates the man who actually maintains a lean physique from the one who perpetually cycles between almost there and starting over Monday. When you actually track, with a tool like Cal.AI that takes a photo and does the work, you stop guessing and start governing. You see exactly what's going in. You adjust. You're not white-knuckling through restriction. You're operating with data. And that intentionality shows up on your body over time. Here's the real kicker. She asks about it eventually. Most guys who get asked, "How do you stay like that?" fumble it. They say, "I'm lucky," or "I don't know, I just eat pretty clean." Deflection, vagueness. The grounded answer is 3 words. I track the data. That's not arrogance. That's competence. And competence, quiet, specific, unbothered competence, is one of the most underrated things a man can display. Precision keeps you lean. But lean alone isn't the ticket. The ticket has a specific shape, and it's built at the table, one meal at a time. The 4th pillar is eating protein first. This is where everything connects. High protein intake does something most guys only associate with the gym. It builds and preserves lean muscle. But what that muscle actually does, at a visual level, is define structure. The jawline, the shoulder-to-waist ratio, the way clothes sit on a frame that isn't carrying excess. That structure is the visual entry ticket. Appearance is the entry ticket. Psychology is the way you play. When her eyes move across your face and catch a defined jawline, something shifts before she processes it consciously. It's not shallow, it's biological. She's reading signals of health, vitality, and genetic fitness in a fraction of a second. That's the jawline signal, and no amount of clever conversation generates it. The guy without the ticket can say all the right things and still feel like he's pushing a boulder uphill. The guy with the ticket walks in and the baseline is already set in his favor, and then his psychology gets to work. Protein builds the entry ticket. Without that sharp jawline and athletic frame, your psychology tricks are just noise she's trying to ignore. Eat protein first, at every meal, not as punishment, as architecture. But here's the thing about building that architecture. You can tear it down overnight without even realizing it. And finally, you must prioritize sleep protection. This one doesn't get talked about enough, because it's not glamorous. But when you're underslept, something specific happens to your behavior around women. You get needy. Not dramatically, not obviously, just slightly too fast to reply, slightly too eager to fill silence. You double text because you can't sit with the uncertainty. You misread her slowness as rejection and start calculating your next move at 1 a.m. when you should be unconscious. That's not a texting problem. That's a sleep problem. Emotional stability, the kind that makes you look unshakable when she takes 4 hours to respond, is largely physiological. A man running on 5 hours is operating with degraded impulse control, higher cortisol, and a nervous system that reads ambiguity as threat. And she feels that fragility even if she can't name it. The underslept man gets ghosted not because he said something wrong, but because his energy said, "I need reassurance," when her subconscious was looking for, "I don't need anything from you." If you're tired, you're needy. And neediness is the fastest way to get ghosted. Protect your sleep like your life depends on it, because your frame certainly does. Guard your sleep with the same intentionality you bring to the gym, the plate, the data, because the man who recovers well is the man who shows up composed. And composure, she notices every single time. But here's the part most guys never consider. What happens when you've done all of this? The body, the frame, the habits, and she still starts pulling away? You've put in the work, the water before the meal, the movement, the tracking, the protein, the sleep. You've built the ticket, and it shows. And then she starts breadcrumbing you. A reply here, a flake there, keeping you in a situationship with no clear direction, just enough warmth to stop you from walking away. Your first instinct is to go back to the drawing board. What did I do wrong? What do I say now? But that's the wrong question. Because the body was never the final answer. It was the entry point. What she's testing now isn't your jawline, it's your boundaries. A man with a high-value body and no boundaries is just a gym rat she can walk over. You've got the ticket, you've done the work. If the games continue, the problem isn't your jawline. It's your leverage. You built the ticket, but you're letting her treat it like a free pass. The ticket gets you in the door. What you do inside the room is a completely different game. And that game, that's where most men quietly lose everything they built. If you've ever missed signals like these in the past, drop a comment. Trust me, we've all been there. Too busy crafting the perfect line, completely forgetting that our presence was already speaking for us before we opened our mouths. Now you know what it was saying. But here's the question nobody's asking yet. What happens when the ticket is valid, the body is right, the frame is solid, and she still goes cold after the third date? There's a psychological short circuit most guys trigger without saying a single wrong word. Something invisible. Something that happens in the space between what you do and what she feels you doing. And if you don't catch it, everything you built won't matter. We'll get into that on the next one.